made some bread last night. Left it on the counter to raise at Mom's. When I came back in this morning, I punched it down, but I was going to put it in the oven and use it as a proofing oven. And when I turned the light on, it didn't come on, so I guess I've got to replace the bulb. But the bread is actually coming back up nicely, and it's amazing. It's actually brighter on the camera than it is to look at. Going to be doing that today. I also have some other sourdough that I need to do something with. I fed what I had in the fridge and pulled out a couple cups and fed it, and I think maybe pancakes or waffles or something. We'll see. Here's the start I pulled out of the fridge when I added to the others, and just gonna stir it and feed it this morning. I think I fed it about 10 hours ago last night when before I made the bread. But thinking maybe some pancakes. Have to see. Mom likes that idea. She really likes the sourdough pancakes. Need to. I guess I'm going to feed 3/4 of a cup since I've got 3 of the measuring cups in the sink. I took out a little over 2 cups for the bread last night. Didn't measure exactly, just close. It was a little wetter than I would normally expect, and it was because I added the extra sourdough, probably an extra 1/4 cup or so. But I think that's okay, just make a little bit bigger loaf. Gonna have to do the dishes this morning after making the bread and last night. But this is just a start, not really the start of my day. I was in doing the bread an hour and a half or so ago, an hour and 20 minutes. Just didn't do this yet, but Mom's up now, can manage to make some noise. Well, got the bulb out of the oven. It actually had a glass over it, a globe, that looked similar, thread at least, to a canning jar. I washed that. I'm going to replace the bulb. Have to pick up something that we forgot to put on a shopping list last night for what Mom wants to cook tonight. Put the self-clean on the oven because it needs it. And just pushed the button and waited to see what it did. It's got 3 hours, 27 minutes left to go. Got a new appliance bulb. Here's the globe that goes over it. That I swear that thread is just like a canning jar. Still have 2 hours left on the self-cleaning on the cleaning on the self-cleaning oven. I put the bread into the pan. Gonna let it rise again. Left the crusty side up. I actually oiled that last night, but it still got crusty. But probably by about 1 when this is done, I'll be able to put that in, maybe a little later. It's adding a lot of heat. There's a lot of warmth right here on the, it's venting right here on the door, and it's warm there, so I actually moved the towel that's normally here because of the heat. But I'll get this done. We're an hour and 25 minutes into a 3.5 hour process. Well, we've got the stuff for the recipe Mom wanted to do. It starts out with sliced chicken. So that's, I guess, first going to put some oil in the pan and do that. Got the light fixed in the oven and have the bread in there because it's started to snow again, and cooled off and it's not wanting to raise. So while we wait for that, I'm going to help her do some cooking.
I'm just showing everything that was in it.
So I got to do called for diced tomatoes that she doesn't have, and so going to dice some stewed tomatoes that she does have. I'm gonna let that warm, and while I do that, I've also got to dice the chilies. She buys whole ones, and then we dice them. Actually, that's what I'm going to do first, before the... I think it says leave these undrained, so... Yeah, just some green onion. Yeah, it is undrained, so I'll have to save this, reserve this liquid. Green onion as a garnish for it. I'm going to cut these up. I'm not going to leave the camera going. I don't think. But do that. Got to dice some, or slice some green onion. Dice these whole stewed tomatoes. So it's not going to be real interesting what I'm going to be doing. And so it's going to be a bit, going to leave the camera off, not going to bore people. Mom just said no onion, and I don't remember seeing it on the recipe. But she wants onion, so I guess we're putting onion in. But I'll have to look at the recipe and alter it. But yeah, here I didn't even have the camera on the thing. But I'll be back. The chicken I actually prepped last night, and when I put it in the pan this morning, it didn't want to come apart or anything. So I put some water in. It's going to have to cook off. Sorry, I had to turn the fan up. And I've got the light on high, where it's actually better on the camera when it's on low. This is going to cook. I'll add the vegetables. I'm going to move over here. Maybe the fan won't be quite so noticeable. There are the onions that Mom wanted me to put in. Just something, I take the end off the cans if possible. It makes it easier to recycle, takes less space. The recycle does take both the paper and the cans. I just prefer to take the paper off. But now for onions. This is actually a garnish for this dish. Just sliced green onions. I'm not sure how much of the stem I'm going to keep. These are a different packaging. They're 2 bunches in a bag instead of 1 bunch in rubber bands, and they're just not as good a quality on the green part of the onion. I think that's about all I'm going to keep right there. It's just not looking really good. Nothing like homegrown, but don't have them, so. Gonna chop up these little ones just because they look tempting. More chivy than oniony. Gonna keep working on the chicken, and I'll add the canned vegetables. Like I said, this recipe is just one that came from the local store. I don't know if I said it or not, but Mom had 3 of them. We did one the other day. It said Cantonese dinner, and it tasted more like an Americanized dinner over rice. Didn't have any real Asian flavor to it. Tasted more just like barbecue. But it was pork instead of beef, and it was good, but it just wasn't very Asian-y to me. I'm going to put these somewhere. Actually, I've got the lid for that other container. I'm going to set them right here. This is a garnish, doesn't go into the actual stuff. I'm going to continue cooking off the water that I added because I put too much. And then I'll put in the stuff that I cut up in a can of corn, because that's what's called for in the recipe, and we'll go from there. The recipe calls for putting in the undrained stuff and this chili seasoning mix. Tomato sauce, it says. So this is a different generic brand. This other one's looking for Western Family. And this is a great value, but it's going to need some liquid, so I'm not going to take all of this off. I don't know, it's supposed to be brown, the chicken. We'll see. Just somewhat of a footnote. This pan lid, up until about a week or two ago, was flat. The handle part of it, but now it's got a little bit of a lean to it. This was one day after doing some baking. Mom had been using the surface of this glass top stove and slid that over, and it was still hot enough that it heated the plastic and it got out of balance. I'm going to go ahead and add the other ingredients and let this do the, it says add the undrained and the chili seasoning mix, bring to a boil, reduce heat to medium-low, cook 10 minutes, stirring occasionally. So I'm going to do that now. This should thicken with the chili sauce and steaming off. One can of corn, and it actually calls for 2 of the small 8.5 ounce cans. Mom says she's not going to use that because she already has the 15.25 ounce cans, so we're using them instead. There's the chili seasoning mix in it. Gonna have to bring it back to a boil and stir it, and then reduce the heat, which on this stove is going to be fun because it doesn't like to cool off. I think I'm actually going to use if I can find it. Mom has a diffuser, and that may be how I'm going to cool it after I get this to a boil again. This is served over tortilla chips with the green onions as a garnish. Like I said, not sure, never tried it. Mom wanted to try it, so we're doing that. but I think I am going to have to use the diffuser to cool this and keep it cooking after I bring it back to a boil. These were the other recipes that Mom got from the store just down the street. This was the one I did the other night. It was a Cantonese dinner, but it tasted more like just barbecue sauce. This was taco soup. She didn't want to try that one. But I think I'm going to do this one again. And it has tomato sauce, brown sugar, Worcestershire, and the mushrooms and an onion. And it tastes like barbecue sauce because of that combination. And I'm thinking that possibly changing the Worcestershire for some soy sauce and maybe some hoisin sauce will make it taste more Asian, at least. Oh yeah, and the vinegar. Can't remember. It was pretty good, but it just wasn't what I expected. And I've made barbecue sauce before, and that's basically how I made it. So it's one that I'll try again. Here's tonight's. This one I'm stirring it as it simmers down, reduces. It's looking pretty good so far, but it's supposed to go over tortilla chips, so this will have to be really reduced or a lot thicker. It's been going roughly 5 minutes. I don't know, I'll keep working on it. I'm sure it smells good, so I'm sure it will be good. Just have to get it to the right consistency. I turned the stove down from medium high to medium low about 10 minutes ago, and that's actually the issue that Mom has with this stove. She loves the oven, everything about that, but this glass top, it just doesn't cool. And she's actually said many times that she wished she'd done gas when she did her the kitchen remodel, but she didn't have the money at the time to have the gas line run, so she just went with the electric. And I don't mind an electric stove, but I absolutely hate cooking on this glass top. Actually, I take that back. I don't mind a hot plate. My hot plate is wonderful. It has the cast iron covers over the burners, which makes it easier to clean, and it also, the heat, holds the heat better. It'll actually cook rice without having a multi-core pan, a thick bottom pan. But yeah, this is still boiling, even though the heat's been reduced considerably. A third, well, about taken down about half of what it was, and it's still boiling. I haven't used the diffuser yet because I want it to thicken more. I want it to reduce. But typically, if Mom is cooking anything on this stove and it needs to reduce the heat without actually taking it off the burner, you have to use a diffuser to keep the heat where you want it so that it doesn't boil or burn or whatever, because this glass top stove, it just does not cool down when you turn the heat down on the burner. And a lot of recipes call for bring to a boil, then reduce heat and simmer, like this one does. On a bit of a footnote, side note, whatever, Mom lost her vision about the time they did the kitchen remodel, and never really got to use her stove. And I was standing here stirring this so that it didn't boil or burn, and noticed that there's a keep warm function, And if you push that button, it comes up, says 100 degrees. And then when you push start, it starts at an hour. And so it keeps warm for an hour. The bread wasn't raising. It's fairly cold out. It's just been snowing. It's maybe upper 30s, 40 degrees. So I did that to try to use it as a proofing oven for the bread. It's been in, I started it, well, 17 minutes ago. Something that experimenting with in terms of the oven. And like I said, Mom has never had anything she didn't like about the oven, except when she'd forgotten, or I forgot, and had not readjusted the shelf height after having the roasting pan in over the holidays. But this is another nice feature if you can use it as a proofing oven like this. The recipe says to spoon the chicken mixture over tortilla chips. I'm actually going to use this spoon. It's one that Mom's had for as long as I can remember. Nice stainless steel. It's part of the set she had. This is another one that she has that I like. Heavy stainless, one-piece handle. I actually prefer this, but if it were a little bit bigger for this, she bought it to make iced tea. I'm going to do up the first one here. I think it's time for the diffuser. Because I've turned that heat down and it's still not reducing the heat very much. Okay. Do that. Shift the camera a little bit. Do this. Now garnish with those green onions. And when I get it stirred up here, dollop or two of sour cream. That's the dish that I just made. It's called chicken olay, according to the recipe from the local store. So, gonna serve up a couple more, have some dinner. It's a glorified nacho. I didn't either. Yep, went away a long time ago. Well, the consensus on the chicken olay was that it tasted good. They had the chicken in strips. I would do it in diced if I did it again. And I'd probably add some tomato sauce to the stuff so it flowed more. The oven, the warm, has 9 seconds left on it. It's probably going to beep here. I guess I could look at the bread. You know what? It dropped. I'm going to pull it out, heat up the oven, and bake it. I don't know how it did it, but I managed to drop the bread. So this is a recipe. It tasted good, but it reminded me of glorified nachos. Something probably go over really well at a Super Bowl party. Not particularly something that I would consider to be dinner, like it was called on the recipe. Yeah, heating that up, that actually fell. I'm gonna go ahead and get ready to bake this. Oh, that got too warm. It said 100 degrees, it went up to 195. That might have partially been the problem. Partially cooked the bread. I'm gonna heat up the oven, clean the pan here, wash down the stove after it cools. We'll go from there. I guess that keep warm setting isn't something I'll be using in the future, since it doesn't really tell you the temp and it went up to 200 degrees. A complaint that Mom had was that this oven didn't come with an owner's manual. They want you to download the PDF. I went and downloaded the PDF on this stove, and I wasn't. The keep warm, it starts at 100 degrees. That's the minimum it shows, but it actually is supposed to keep at 170. It actually went up above 195. The bread did fall because of that. The sourdough does not like excessive heat. 100 would have been fine. 195 was too much. But I'm sure it'll still taste good. Thanks for watching Perhaps Cooking. Feel free to share, give me a thumbs up, or subscribe.